What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Game Show, brought to you by Front Yard Fantasy here on Better Sports Network. It's a beautiful Monday. I'm your host, Simon, joined as always by my co-host, John Luke Garofalo. We left Joey Wright in Canton. He's going to live there now. But joining us today is our special guest and great friend, Dane Martinez. For those of you that do not know Dane, you can find him on Twitter at Spittin' Speeds. He is the Spittin' statistician and creating some fun sports content over at FTN Bets. Dane, thank you so much for taking the time to come and hang out with us today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Great to always be here. I've been here a couple of times, but haven't won. So now I got to try and get this dub.
Well, you're getting the dub today. Our chat historian coming in the chat. What's up, Craig? Saying good day, FYF family. Hoove and I are on the ride back from the expo. Hi, Hoove.
Hello.
Safe drive. In other news, today's guest is making their third FYF appearance and looking for that first dub.
Let's go.
We'll see. It's head-to-head you versus JL today. Also, Craig saying Dane is in that McDonald's division for SFB 13. So shout out to the Grimace gang. How'd that draft go, Dane?
It was pretty good. I was, the thing with Scotty Fish is like the settings, so depending on where do you get that tight end, I think Kelsey went like number 2 overall, but I feel good about my team. Applied my blueprint, actually stuck to it. So now we just got to let the chips fall where they may and see what happens.
Yeah. I was looking at my team this weekend. I was like, this is probably either a bottom 5% team or a bottom 10% team.
Or bottom 100% team.
Or bottom 100% team. Well, guys, today we brought Dane here to play some Quotey McQuoteface and vague descriptions. Before we get into that, though, a couple reminders. First and foremost, if you're not already following our guest, Dane, go and fix that right now. You can find him on Twitter at Spittin' Speeds. That is Speeds with a Z and no G on Spittin'. Make sure you follow him over there. After you do that, head on back over here where you're watching us. If you're on the Front Yard Fantasy YouTube channel or Better Sports Network YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Is the easiest way to show your support for what we're doing. And that little notification bell will make sure you always know when we're going live at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And guys, if you were at the expo, you may have heard it from us there, but we have an announcement to make today. The Front Yard Fantasy Declassified Draft Guide pre-order is up now on our website at www.frontyardfantasy.com. We've been spending this offseason putting that together. So go check it out. Get that pre-order in. It should be available for you guys later this week. 2501. It's just 100 quarters and a penny.
Nice and easy.
Nice and easy. Well, guys, you ready to get into some Quotey McQuoteface and vague descriptions today?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. I'm going to explain this game, and then we're going to get into it. The game we're playing first is Quotey McQuoteface. This is a game that's all about quote identification. And oh boy, do we have lots of quotes right now with the preseason starting. I'm going to give you something that somebody around the league said. I need you to tell me who said it. That's going to be worth 1 point. And then why they said it, the context. That's also going to be worth 1 point. So you can get up to 2 points on your turn. Now, if you miss either one of those, though, your opponent is going to have the opportunity to steal 1 or both points. Whoever has the most points at the end of that, congratulations, you have a halftime lead, but we still have another game to go with some vague descriptions, which I'll explain once we get there. So it's a 2-parter, cumulative score, 1 winner in today's game. And I think we're having some issues with the chat, but we'll see if we can get that figured out, guys. I already said the before part. JL, do you want to go first or second in today's game?
Second.
Well, Dane, that means you are going first in today's game. The first quote is yours. Are you ready for it?
Let's go.
I'm going to go ahead and pull this up there, and I'll give you a little bit of time to deliberate. When you step in between them lines, you're putting yourself at risk by hesitating and by reserving yourself. I made the choice that I wanted to play. It wasn't nobody else's choice but mine. So making that choice, I know what comes with it. Dane, do you know who said this and why they said it?
I'm not 100% on this, but I am going to guess Tua Tagovailoa said this. And I'm going to guess that because of all the concussion stuff last year, there was an issue on if he would actually come on back, and he ultimately is. So, he inherently knows the risks and is giving it the go there for the Dolphins. So I'm going to go with Tua.
Tua with the concussion risks. Dane, great guess, but incorrect on both counts. This is not Tua Tagovailoa. JL looked like he agreed with you there, but JL, this is going to come to you now. Do you know who said this and why they said it?
I had no idea. And then Dane said Tua, and I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Now I'm back to square one. No idea. Oh, who is coming back and putting themselves at risk? I guess every single player.
Oh,
Who's coming back and putting themselves at risk? Let's go with. Oh, Simon is gone, so I guess I can't go with anyone.
Well, you can still go ahead. We just won't know if it's true or not.
That's
We can kind of group
that's
think
a
on
good
this one
point.
if you want.
Yeah, we could. I guess we could self-grade this. Simon's back.
We're back, and the chat is back in here, guys. While you're thinking on that, JL, I see Albert in here with the hello, everyone. What's up, Albert?
What up, Albert?
We got Jay with the Happy Monday, FYF fam.
Hello.
What up, Jay?
What? And Maria said, Scotty Fish is how I want to say it now.
Just randomly, I like
I think we're all saying Scotty Fish.
Scotty Fish.
And Jay said, Dane sniped me more than once at Flex a couple weekends ago. Got him.
What's going on, Jay?
So Albert was agreeing with you, Dane. Thought it was Tua. Let me go ahead and get this quote back up here. I know that's what you were waiting for. You got to see it in order to make that guess. Here it is, John Luke. Who said this? And why?
All right. So when you step in between them lines, you're putting yourself at risk by hesitating and by reserving yourself. I made the choice that I wanted to play. It wasn't nobody else's choice but mine. So making that choice, I know what comes with it. All right. This is someone who's worried about coming back, getting hurt. Let's go with Saquon Barkley.
Saquon Barkley is incorrect.
Dang.
Incorrect. Unfortunately, that is going to be no points for either of you guys on this one. A 0-0 start. I'm going to go ahead and reveal who this is. This is DeMar Hamlin on returning to the field after his heart attack. Makes sense once you see it, right? But we are fantasy guys. Maybe not some IDP, so we might have been thinking offensive players there. I do want to talk to you guys. DeMar Hamlin's going to come back on that field. This Bills team has been unbelievably competitive over the past couple seasons. Right now on the FanDuel Sportsbook, they're sitting at plus 1,000, tied with the Bengals and the 49ers for the third best odds to win the Super Bowl behind only the Chiefs and the Eagles. Dane, do you like the Bills there at plus 1,000 to win the Super Bowl this year? Or are you shying away from that one?
So here's the thing. Like, do I think the Bills are a championship contender? Yes. But ultimately, would I make that bet? No. I think here's the thing. For me, the AFC East is going to be incredibly competitive this year. I actually think Miami and the Jets, I am a Jets fan, are going to also be playoff caliber teams. And in the AFC, it is so stacked with teams that have absolute young studs at quarterback, you know, whether it's Burrow, Herbert, Mahomes, Lamar as well. I don't think I would make that bet. I would look for similar value in the NFC. So at least I think I'll have someone championship weekend.
That makes sense. John Luke, are you feeling any more optimistic about this Bills team, or do you agree with Dane that maybe it's a tough division to be making a bet on a team at plus 1,000 there?
Yeah, I think objectively we can. Yeah, I think Dane is correct here. This is a tougher level of competition than the other divisions, and it's going to be tougher for the Bills to compete. Regardless of how talented you are, this game has a level of variance to it, right? Some degree of variance. And so the Bills, even though they're fantastic, and we've seen them in these games where they have come this close to getting closer to that Super Bowl, they just weren't able to do it because there was a better team and variance came into play and they got beat. And so I think they have just as good a shot as they have had the last 2 years. But I think Dane is looking at this exactly correct.
And when you stack them up against, say, like, you know, Kansas City or Cincinnati, because of the division, where I think that matters is where will the division round and AFC championship game be played, right?
Yes.
So I think Kansas City, if you're on the Cincinnati bandwagon, what have you, those two teams I think have a better chance to have a better regular season record and thus a home game. And Buffalo is so much with, you know, Bills Mafia going through the tables, the weather in Orchard Park come January. I think that is a big advantage that they would have, but a tougher road to get there.
Absolutely. Those buys are so valuable now that there's just one of them. And it's a tougher path for the Bills to get there. Also, we're still having trouble with our chat over here. I apologize, guys, but I see Scott Fish in the chat saying that this quote was actually about him returning to the Expo after 2 years of ankle injuries.
No boot.
Scotty Fish.
All right, well, guys, we're going to move on to our next quote in jail. This one is yours. Are you ready for it?
I am.
Same rules. I need to know who said it and why they said it. Mike's unlike anybody else I've ever seen. Truly. He does things that people shouldn't be able to do. I didn't realize until I got here. He's 6'5", all of 6'5", and he can run, truly can run. Once he gets his strides going, it's impressive to watch. Who said this, and what are they talking about?
All right, my first thought, as soon as I saw Mike, was Mike Williams. Maybe it's Mike Evans, but this is I can't think who would be. Oh wait, 6'5". He's 6'5". All of 6'5". He can run. Truly can run. Okay. I kind of stopped listening after I hooked in on Mike Williams, and then now I got to think about
So
it.
after the very first word,
How tall? As soon as I saw Mike, I was like, "Yep, I know who this is." All right, I think he is 6'5". Sounds about right. I'm gonna go with Kellen Moore, coach of the or offensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Chargers.
Talking about Mike Williams as the context?
Yes, talking about Mike Williams as the context.
All right. Well, Mike Williams is tall, and boy, can he run. But that is not what this quote is about, or who said it, John Luke, which means, Dane, you're going to get the opportunity to steal up to both of these points here. Who do you think said this, and why did they say it?
I was thinking similarly, so I'll go the other way. I think this was said by Baker Mayfield, and I think he said that about Mike Evans, given all the stuff we were talking about, the frame and the athleticism of Mike Evans.
Well, Dane, Mike Evans is tall, and Mike Evans can run. And Baker Mayfield did say this talking about Mike Evans. That's getting you 2 points. And you are going to take the early lead in this game of 2-0 over John Luke.
Yes, I was so close.
You were. I thought Mike Williams at first too. That was where my mind immediately went as well. So whichever one you didn't go with, I was going the other way.
You were going to go the other way. I just couldn't think of the person who would have said it. My mind, when I thought of Mike Williams, I was like, all right, Kellen Moore. And then when I thought about Mike Evans, it's like, I don't know.
Kyle Trask.
Did
he have his eyes closed all last season?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Dane, Mike Evans has been probably one of my most drafted players over the past couple of years. I love him. But now this year, I've been hesitant to draft him with the turmoil in that offense. What are you doing with a receiver like Mike Evans, who's never had less than 1,000 yards, but now the Bucs look not like they have the past couple of years offensively?
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I think that's an interesting conversation topic, right? You know, one thing is that Mike Evans got like most of his production last year, I think in week 18, if you remember that, after
it's like 200 plus yards
was done. It was like 200 yards and 3 touchdowns or something. And he is the older of the receivers. The way I've been playing it is actually whatever you think about, you know, Baker, Trask, whatever, I actually think that Godwin is more immune to falling off the cliff production-wise than Evans is, if that makes sense. So I think that Godwin is actually more of a stable draft choice for his ADP than Mike Evans. I think Mike Evans may actually start to be on the decline. I think Evans is also 3 or 4 years older than Godwin. So I know there is some kind of questions in Tampa. I'd be more likely to remain confident in Godwin rather than Evans.
Is it just an age thing, or is it the role they play in that offense as well? Is Chris Godwin's role safer?
All of the above. I think it's all of the above. The role, the age, and, you know, obviously there may be a step down going from TD12 to Baker, even though I correctly identified
step.
Maybe a small step.
Maybe a ramp.
Baker.
I mean, Brady wasn't awesome last year, though. You know, the Brady of last year to Baker, maybe a smaller gap than we think.
Man, that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said about Baker Mayfield, I think. John Luke, with all the talk of Kyle Trask showing up at training camp, do you think we're going to see Baker as the starter or Kyle Trask week 1?
I think Baker will be the starter.
I'm with you.
I think he's better quarterback. I know it's very was it in vogue? Is that the word, the phrase? To hate on Baker?
Oh, that's so in vogue that you said in vogue.
So in vogue. Yeah, I think Baker is still this average, nice quarterback who's just going to go get plugged in that system. And honestly, I think the bigger issue here is I don't have a ton of confidence in Todd Bowles and Todd Bowles offense. I just haven't really seen an explosive Todd Bowles offense. So I'm not sure that he'll be able to put it together with Baker here.
I'm just waiting for the
real question, Simon, is where did you get this picture of Baker Mayfield?
Yeah, for real.
You don't have it saved on your phone?
No, I do not. It is not the lock screen on my cell phone, but I think that's more interesting question.
Our images, you can thank G-Man J for finding and sourcing all of them. I think he Googles once a day every NFL player's name followed by in singlet, just to see if he can find those images. And there's so many of Baker Mayfield in wrestling singlets.
Thousands.
I bet Baker Mayfield starts week 1, but then I think this Bucs team is going to be not good. And after they lose 4, 5, 6 games, it's going to be hard for them not to try Kyle Trask. I think we see both of those quarterbacks, even without injury, start a game for the Buccaneers this year. Not necessarily Baker's fault, but until he's reunited with Sean McVay, inevitably for that storyline, I don't think we're going to see a good Baker Mayfield product out there on the field.
Yeah, that's fair.
Also, Victor in the chat got the last one. Baker about Mike Evans. Nice job, Victor.
Well done.
And Scott Fish said Simon's private collection of picks is crazy.
Yeah, wildly voluminous.
All right, well, Dane, this next one is yours. And you've got an early lead of 2-0. You could run the score up a little bit here. You ready for your next quote?
Bring it.
As a receiver, for your first catch to go 60 yards, you can't really draw it up any better. It was awesome. I told him that might be legendary right there. I know he was excited. He came over to the bench and was like, I'm done for the rest of the game. Who said this and why did they say it?
I am going to go with I wasn't watching all of the games this week, but I think we saw a solid first drive connection between Justin Fields and DJ Moore. So I'm going to go with DJ Moore said this about the potential of him in Chicago, newly connected with Fields.
Dane, you are going to get 1 point for correctly identifying the context of this quote. That's exactly what this is about. This is about DJ Moore getting that first catch and the potential for that connection in Chicago. But DJ Moore did not say it.
Okay.
Which means
Fair
John
enough.
Luke, Dane's
Fair
moving
enough.
up to 3 points, but you got an opportunity to get on the board here. Who said this?
Okay, let's go with the head coach, Matt Eberflus.
Matt Eberflus
Oh,
did not
Eberflus.
say this
Damn it.
quote. So, Dane, you're going to go up 3-1 here. Dane, you said the name. It was
Fields.
Justin Fields who said this about DJ Moore's 62-yard touchdown.
Dang.
Oh, man, did that get me excited as a DJ Moore fan. And as a Justin Fields fan, and as a football fan, and as an NFL fan. I'm just hyped. JL, what's the ceiling for a player like DJ Moore and what is viewed to be a run-heavy, low-volume offense? But he's clearly the one here, arguably with the best quarterback he's had in his career.
His ceiling is almost entirely dependent on how much they shift to a passing offense. Which I do expect. I think last year was a product of them. They didn't have any other option really. They couldn't get Justin Fields enough time to pass the ball, and he wasn't good enough to overcome that obstacle. This year, I think that they're much better set up for that. And so, I think DJ Moore's ceiling is wide receiver, like back end or low end wide receiver 1 is where I'd put him.
Dane, are you equally optimistic to JL, or do you have a different outlook for DJ Moore this season?
I am, but to be quite honest, it's mostly around Justin Fields. Like, I expect a huge ascension out of Justin Fields this year. The weapons you guys are talking about. I mean, Cole Kmet led them last year, I think, targets and receiving yards. At this time last year, we were like, can Darnell Mooney be a wide receiver 1? Which is
I don't know who would have said that so much.
I think, but I think the Bears offense will look more dynamic, Fields more comfortable in the offense. And to be quite honest, I think the Bears themselves will overperform expectations this year, whether it be win total. I see them pick to finish last in that division. And I would not be surprised if Chicago is one of the teams that take a big jump up. They also did a lot to augment the defense, as well as, like you mentioned, getting a guy like DJ Moore. You know, when you see Justin Fields, when he gets A.J. Brown, right? Like in other young quarterbacks, when they get that alpha wide receiver, they really make a precipitous jump. And I think the same thing could be in the cards for Fields and the Bears offense this year.
God, I hope so. I hope so. That would be so much fun. And I was all in on Darnell Mooney last year, but I was just a year too early on being in on the Bears wide receiver 1 is all that happened. It was just, I thought in my mind, I already knew DJ Moore was going to be there, and I just committed a year early. Well, JL,
look at it.
Did we mention at all? No, I think you went right past it, Simon. Today's your birthday.
Oh, I tried to do a yeehaw, but the expo took my voice. No birthday yeehaw today.
It's a little empty fart yeehaw.
It was an empty fart. When you turn 29, your farts start coming out empty, and your yeehaws are a little gruff.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Simon.
Thanks, John.
That's awesome. Happy, man.
Appreciate it, guys. Well, because it's my birthday, it's time for that next quote. And John Luke, this one's coming your way. You ready for it?
I'm ready.
Okay. This is quote number 3 in today's game. You're down 3-0, but you can get 2 points right here if you know who said
No,
this
he's
and
got
why
one.
they said it.
Didn't he get one?
He did not. I accidentally put it up there, and then I took it away right away.
Oh, okay.
He guessed Mr. Eberflus instead of Justin Fields on this last one.
Eberflus.
Eberflus. Come on. Is that a real name? I think that's just a show name that he came up with.
Could be.
His stage name.
John Luke, here's your quote. I think that was a simple question. Is there a scenario where he'll be back next year? And I gave a common sense answer. No. I think that was a little overblown. I'm trying to be a shot at him or anything. We knew he wasn't going to be coming back from his standpoint or ours, financially and everything. Who said this and why did they say it?
Whether he'll be back next year. Let's go with LaFleur talking about Aaron Rodgers.
LaFleur talking about Aaron Rodgers.
Packers head coach.
That is incorrect, John Luke. Great guess, though. But that means, Dane, we're going to come to you. Do you have an idea of who said this and what they were talking about?
That's interesting because I was going to go with the GM Gutekunst, but also with the Packers situation. So, I will say that's a tough one. I will say that was McCarthy talking about Zeke Elliott.
McCarthy talking about Zeke Elliott. Another great guess, but another incorrect answer. This is someone else entirely. Since neither one was guessed at all, Jail, this will come back to you for a shot of redemption. Do you want to take a shot here?
You're back next year. Let's go with Todd Bowles talking about Tom Brady.
Todd Bowles talking about Tom Brady is incorrect. Dane, you want to take one more shot at this?
I can take one more shot, and I will go with
I love the thought process. Who left?
I will go with the context being about Derek Carr. And who's the head coach there now? The guy who took over, and it's not even the special teams dude there anymore. Or Devontae Adams talking about Derek Carr.
This is Devontae Adams talking about Derek Carr. Buddy's talking. That is not correct, but you are getting closer. This is Kyle Shanahan on answering no Jimmy G question last year. Is it showing up over here?
Yeah.
Yep.
There we go. We got it right there. Kyle Shanahan on answering no to the Jimmy G question last year. But now we got Jimmy G on a new team. He's playing for the Las Vegas Raiders, Derek Carr's former team. Dane, what do you think of this offense with Jimmy G under center now?
Here's the thing. I've always liked Jimmy G as a player. I think he gets a bad rap. I think he could be more productive. However, I am out on Devontae Adams entirely this year because I don't expect Jimmy G to play 17 games for the Raiders. And then it drops down to I think Brian Hoyer is the backup in Vegas. So I actually think when you are in potentially your fantasy playoffs and you drafted Devontae Adams in the first or second round as your wide receiver 1, he's going to be toiling with Brian Hoyer as his quarterback. So I'm higher than most on the player of Jimmy G, but I am severely down on the Raiders offense and most especially Devontae Adams as a wide receiver 1 in fantasy this year.
Ouch. Does that affect Josh Jacobs for you as well? Does it lower him because of the worse offense or more just relatively even?
I think with Jacobs, they might, proverbially chew him up and spit him out because of the contracts and all that stuff. And so I think he'll get his carries, but it affects him less so, in my opinion, than the wide receivers, most notably Adams.
John Luke, are you worried about Jimmy G in this offense and what it means for the receivers there? If he's worried about Adams, I imagine the secondary receivers are of even less interest to you, a Jacoby Myers, a Hunter Renfrow.
This feels more like a lateral move to me. I see Jimmy G as a similar type of quarterback to Derek Carr with just slightly less consistency that we've seen in the past. Derek Carr, while he was fantastic and just throwing for it felt like 400 yards a game at one point, 2 seasons ago, I don't think that his talent is really that much different from Jimmy G. So now I don't think it affects the skill position players on that team. I'm expecting just slight downgrade for all of them. And that's not just based off of Jimmy G coming in, but all the factors here going on in this offense.
I feel like Jimmy G's been the quarterback where it's like, oh, shoot, I missed out on the quarterback run. And so he's your second quarterback in super flex after all the other quarterbacks went. Right. Okay, it's Jimmy G or Desmond Ridder. I guess I'll take Jimmy G and roll with that this season.
What are you going to do? Yeah.
We got some people in the chat. Victor down here saying, happy birthday, Simon. Don't know if it's actually your birthday, but either way, happy birthday. And boy, do I love that we've created a brand where someone's saying it's your birthday and you can't believe it at all.
100% meaningless now. Absolutely meaningless.
Craig in here said, happy world entrance anniversary, Simon. Thanks, Craig. And JL's mom stopping by saying happiest birthday. Thank you so much. And Joey said to check my phone for my sexy birthday surprise.
Ooh,
I will be doing that.
It's his feet.
Damn it, not again.
It's his feet again.
All right. Well, there were no points on that one, Dane. You still have the lead, but this next one is going to be your turn. Are you ready for your next quote?
Vamos.
Let's do it. That was the one I wish I could get back. That throw over the middle to Luke. Man, just missed him. That's an easy throw, routine throw. Just couldn't come up with it. But other than that, I thought we played well. I thought all the pass game was in stride. Dane, who said this and what were they talking about?
Oh, God. I have no idea. I'm trying to figure out who the damn Luke in question is.
I know.
In the preseason makes things wild with NFL names, doesn't it?
I thought I knew all the Lukes in the league. What the hell?
That's why I'm right with you. Other than that, I thought we played well. I thought the pass game was in stride. I got no idea, really. I will say this was – I'll just go with Bryce Young just because I know that there were some turnovers in that game, and they did not look that great. So I'll say Bryce Young, and the content was a underperformance in their first outing.
Bryce Young and an underperformance in their first outing. Dane, unfortunately, that is incorrect. Not going to be points for that one, but it was a great guess. John Luke, we are going to go to you here. You know what, Dane? Luke. I am actually going to give you 1 point for the context on that. It was the wrong team, but you did get the premise of it correct, that it was a player commenting on the bad performance in the preseason game, and that's going to be enough for 1 point. JL is upset. When you hear it, you'll take it. John Luke, it is your turn. Who said this?
The only Luke I can think of is the rookie Luke Musgrave. And he plays for the Packers. So I'm going to guess Jordan Love throwing to Luke Musgrave.
John Luke? That is absolutely correct.
Nice.
Jordan Love on his interception and a pass attempt to Luke Musgrave. Holy cow. Nice pull. I gave Dame the point there, but it is going to be 4-1 after that one.
So let me get this straight. Dame gets the point for saying that this was a player commenting on another player negatively during the preseason.
Listen, I should have been able to get the Jimmy G if I said the changing of the Raiders pass game at one point with the last one with Jimmy G. And that's
a separate question. We're doing this incident right now, Dane. We're sticking on this incident. Then we'll go to the previous questions.
I hear you. I'm hearing all of these really great arguments for these points here. I'm going to send them off to the league officials. They're going to review it. Okay. And tomorrow afternoon, there will probably be a statement from the Front Yard Fantasy League office about any errors that may have occurred in this game scoring. But as of right now,
I'll remember this. Simon.
Next week when JL hosts this game, there's going to be a new rule implemented. And it's called Simon Sucks and isn't allowed to play anymore.
Simon gives away points.
Simon gives away points. But we've got one more quote here. And John Luke, this one is yours. Are you ready for it?
Nope.
Well, that's good because I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about Jordan Love first. Jordan Love has been a darling of the sports books, it seems like. They were pumping up his numbers a little bit earlier. They've dropped later his odds for being league MVP, passing yards leader. Dane, is this going to be another instance of the Packers falling into their next Hall of Fame quarterback, or are you expecting something different from Jordan Love in his first year on the field?
I mean, it's pretty lofty standards to say another Hall of Fame quarterback, right? He's at the last two.
Is he a Hall of Fame
out
QB
that
or a
way. I
bust?
think he can fall shy of that and still be productive. And I think somewhere in the middle is probably where we'll be.
Quit being reasonable, Dane.
Right. No, I mean, you got to acknowledge he was a first-round draft pick. You got to acknowledge that he's been in that system now for multiple years. So I don't think he's going to fall flat on his face, okay? But I think there will be a step back. And quite frankly, in terms of his production, I think what we're going to see is actually more of an evolution to a more run-heavy team. Okay, to me, the more kind of telling piece was them bringing back Aaron Jones when they had A.J. Dillon kind of ready and willing and able to take over that kind of workhorse role. And so I think with both of those running backs in the room and in tow, I think the Packers offense will not lean as much on the arm of Jordan Love and be more of a run-heavy team. I think the Packers will not take as big of a step back as a lot of people, but again, that division is something that I see a little bit different than most. A lot of people are ready to crown the Detroit Lions as the champions, right? And I'm not there yet. I think the Bears will be there. I think the Vikings, with Cousins having another year in that system, and the Packers not taking as big of a step back. To me, this division is the most wide open in all of football.
Yeah, you can make a case for any of these four teams to win it. John Luke, do you hold it against Luke Musgrave that there's no John in front of his name?
Yeah, I do, to be honest. I appreciate you asking me that. Yeah, it's just a travesty against nature.
No Luke's allowed. You got to have that John in front of there. Are you optimistic about Jordan Love in this Packers offense? He does feel like a weird quarterback on draft day. I never know quite where he should be going in drafts just because we haven't seen it, and he's going ahead of guys like Jimmy G, Derek Carr. Some of these ones where maybe there's a little bit more of that known.
If I have Jordan Love, I'm holding on to him, and I'm seeing where this train goes. Otherwise, I have never been in a situation in a draft, and we do a lot of mock drafts here. I haven't been in a situation where I've been in a draft and really been compelled to take Jordan Love over any of the other quarterbacks who are available where he's going. So I'm not that optimistic in Jordan Love. I could be wrong on that. There's just too much uncertainty and risk here for me to justify the opportunity cost.
So you recognize the upside that's there, but you'll let someone else take that risk.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen on your team. I drafted a little bit more Jordan Love in the beginning of the offseason, but as the offseason went on, I found myself getting less and less just maybe willing to accept that risk. Dane, if you had to pick a winner of that division right now, are you picking the Bears? Are you picking the
No, I think I'm taking Minnesota there. I think they're ultimately the team with the most consistency, the most known quantities, and the least kind of upheaval. And I think that offense will be good again. Although I think Detroit is not going to live up to expectations. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Bears win 8-9 games and be in second in that division. But if I had to pick a division winner in the North right now, it would be Minnesota.
I hope the Bears defense is not as good as people are hoping, or the Lions defense is not as good as people are hoping it can be. So we get more of those crazy shootout games that we got last year. Right. Well, we got one more quote here. John Luke, this one's coming your way. Now, are you ready?
Yep.
Perfect. Teammates are looking at me to control the offense, so I can't be out there nervous. They're looking at me in my eyes like they're ready to play, so I have to be ready to play. I have to try to find a way to manage it as best as possible instead of trying to be Superman.
I thought it said asbestos.
I have to try to find a way to manage it as best as possible.
I have to manage all this asbestos.
Mesothelioma!
Get away from me, my loved ones.
If you or your loved one have been affected by mesothelioma, you may be entitled to compensation.
Are looking at me to control the offense, so I can't be out there nervous. This makes me think this is a young quarterback, offensive leader. Who might be nervous? Let's go with Anthony Richardson, talking about being a quarterback.
John Luke, that is absolutely correct. We're going to give it to you for that one. Anthony Richardson on his preseason interception, which is part of being a quarterback. That'll be 2 more points going your way, making it at the buzzer in Quotey McQuoteface a score of 4-3. Before we move on, JL, heat check on Anthony Richardson for fantasy this year.
I sense a lot of excitement for Anthony Richardson, and I get it. I'd hate to be the Debbie Downer, but I just feel similarly to Jordan Love, except that I'm a little tempted to take Anthony Richardson where he's going, depending on where it is. Super flex leagues, it's still a little bit rich for my blood. Joey seems to take him very early. I think like second, third round, which maybe where he's going normally. But yeah, I'm concerned about. There's a lot of moving parts in this offense, a lot of new pieces, a lot of new variables. Anthony Richardson, he's still a rookie QB coming into the system. So I think we got to temper our expectations, especially at first. Let him get used to the speed of the game at the pro level and this new organization.
I generally avoid rookie QBs and rookie tight ends, which means sometimes you miss out on those breakout performances. But Dane, where do you stand heat check on Anthony Richardson? Are you close to JL or maybe a little higher up on him?
No, I'm a little lower. To be honest. I like the player.
Cool check.
I think there's gonna be some highlights out there, right? There's gonna be a 67-yard scramble, which makes people be like, oh my God, what is this? But I think, I think it's gonna end poorly in Indianapolis this year. You already see the stuff with Jonathan Taylor back and forth. And last year, the Colts were 30th in the NFL at 17 points a game. And I think it's gonna be hard for the rookie. I think they're gonna pressure him. And ultimately, I think the Colts will be in positions in games where they are down, and it has to be then on the arm of Anthony Richardson. And I don't think that's a recipe for success. So while I think he's a dynamic player, in a couple of years he'll be amazing, I think it's going to be a rough go of it for the Colts offense this year.
So you're saying it might be a player where you're hoping to rely on his legs for some additional fantasy value, but the game scripts might not just let that happen.
Yeah.
It's one of those plays where I'm trying not to let the hype train get the best of me because, boy, is it a fun hype train. That's one of the ones that I just want to jump right on and draft him everywhere, but I'm holding off on that hype train. Well, we had Victor in the chat get the last one about Jordan Love. Nice job, Victor. And I apologize to everybody. We're having some issues with getting the comments to show up today. We'll get that taken care of, but we're still seeing them. And Craig down here said, I would do anything for Jordan Love, but I won't draft him.
Not that. Won't do that. It's too far.
All right. Well, guys, that is the end of Quotey McQuoteface. It is a close game. It is 4-3, but we got round two here. Game number 2. It is halftime, but we're going to get into some vague descriptions. This is a game that's pretty self-explanatory. It's called Vague Descriptions, and it's a game of vague descriptions. I'm going to describe something vaguely, or as the chat likes to point out from time to time, badly. It could just be I describe something horribly. If you can tell me what it is, then you are going to get a point. I'll give you the vague description and the category. It's going to go back and forth. The other person can't steal if you miss it. Whoever has the most points at the end of our show here, whenever we run out of things to describe vaguely or run out of time, or you guys tell me no more of these, I can't handle another one, we'll end the game.
Very likely.
Ready?
All right.
Yep.
All right, Dane, you're up first. Are you ready for your first one?
Vaguely.
Vaguely ready. Okay. Your first category is TV show. So this is a TV show. Airline passengers experience the longest layover in history.
Lost.
Dane, this is Lost. That's going to earn you 1 point, giving you a 5-3 lead over jail. Did you watch Lost?
I did not, but I hear apparently they were just in purgatory the whole time.
I never watched it either. And then I just saw how mad everyone was about the ending. I was like, and I'll never watch that.
Good choice. Good decisions by me.
All right. That's going to get you up early. 5-3. John Luke, we are coming to you, though. Are you ready for your first vague description?
Yep. I don't know if I would have got that last one.
Well, we have the category as movie for you on this one. A plastic guy discovers boys rule, girls drool.
Barbie?
John Luke, Ken discovering the patriarchy. This is, in fact, Barbie. You're going to get a point for that, making the score 5-4.
Nice.
Have you guys seen Barbie or Oppenheimer yet? The double feature that came out that weekend?
No, but I hear people are doing that back-to-back double feature to get like the end of the continuum of, society.
Which one do you watch first? Do you watch Oppenheimer first or Barbie first? Because I feel like it changes it.
I think you got to go Oppenheimer first and then like be more uplifted on the way out, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, Barbie Land got destroyed if you're going into Oppenheimer. The other way, Barbie Land is what came out the other side.
Right.
All right. Well, close game still, 5-4. We're going to move on to our next vague description. Dane, this one is yours.
Okay.
The category is NFL player. NFL player.
All right.
Weird Al, but 4 inches taller and 60 pounds heavier.
4 inches taller and 60 pounds heavier. That is interesting. I have no clue. I have absolutely no clue. So I will go with Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers is incorrect. John Luke, do you have a guess here?
David Njoku.
This is not David Njoku, but that is the right position. This is none other than the Weird Al impersonator-looking dude himself, Greg Dulcich. Greg Dulcich is Weird Al, but 4 inches taller and 60 pounds heavier. That Broncos team didn't look so good in the preseason so far. Dane, are you worried that this is going to be 2022 all over again, where they get all the preseason hype, but this time just with more Sean Payton?
Let's ride. No, I am not worried, because as a Jets fan, I would be fine if Sean Payton fell on his face there after talking about my new offensive coordinator.
Ooh.
Suck it, Sean Payton. You heard it here first.
Oh, Hard Knocks made Sean Payton look like such a bully.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the way this is
bully.
playing out. But honestly, you don't talk about like that, about like someone else in the fraternity. I think that is actually real. Like, you wouldn't see me out on Twitter talking smack about you guys like when I'm doing another show.
Let's go.
Do it, Dane.
I dare you.
Sorry. We got hot there fast. John, I was so ready.
But yeah, I maybe they'll be a little bit better, but I still think at best they're third in that division.
Ouch. That's not what they're hoping for with Russell Wilson and Sean Payton in that offense. Do you think Greg Dulcich, after his mini breakout last year, he had a period where he showed up, has any fantasy relevancy this year with all the other receiving options?
I think there is some, but I think for me, he falls in the more like touchdown dependent category. I think there's obviously the, Kelsey, then the Andrews through, say, Goddard kind of tier, which is like what, 6, 7, or 8. And then after that, to me, they're all kind of touchdown dependent, almost like streaming for the matchups week to week if you don't wind up at one of those top dudes. So to me, like, sure, there's potential, but on a week-to-week basis, there's probably like 8 other guys that I could say the same thing about.
John Luke, in Dynasty, do you view Dulcich differently? Like, does he elevate above that touchdown-dependent group for you in Dynasty because of his age and maybe the situation not being ideal right now? Or does he still stay with that big old glob even in Dynasty?
No, I think he separates himself just on a young talent perspective, like you said. I think that separates him. Just being young, being talented, having that first breakout year the way that he did makes him worth the stash.
And he has more, because he's young, there's more opportunities for him to have opportunities for that situation in front of him to clear up. So hold on to that talent. I'm with you, John Luke. Well, no points on that one, but John Luke, we are coming to you for the next one. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
Okay. This next one is an NFL player. We've got another NFL player. It is a former Spartan that definitely shares his name with at least 2 other people.
Devontae Smith.
This is not Devontae Smith. Dane, do you have a guess here?
Oh, yes. My guess will be Kenneth Walker III.
This is Kenneth Walker III. Went to Michigan State, and there's at least 2 other Kenneth Walkers out there somewhere. So that is going to be a point.
Second, in fact.
Yeah, number 1 and number 2. I bet there's more than 3 if I had to guess, though. That is going to bring the score up to 6-4 after stealing that one from John Luke. Dane, I've been falling in love with Zach Charbonnet, which means I've been falling out of love with Kenneth Walker. Where do you stand on this Seahawks running back situation?
I think it will become more of a room that a lot of NFL teams have, right? Where there is no workhorse back. And so I wouldn't fall out of love with Kenneth Walker, but I do think Charbonnet will have a role and some touches. And so, I'm not really all in on Kenneth Walker. I am all in, we were talking about it before the show, on JSN and the passing offense. I still think the Seahawks will be largely a passing offense. That's where they'll get most of their production. So while, I think Kenneth Walker is just fine, I'm not ending up with a ton of shares of him on my rosters.
Makes sense. JL, do you agree with Dane here that this is going to stay a more pass-heavy offense? And if so, does that mean you like Geno Smith maybe at draft cost this year?
I don't like Geno Smith at draft costs. It feels like he's going too high. I don't know. I don't know exactly how the running back situation is going to play out there. I tend to lean on the Kenneth Walker side, just to that last conversation. Yeah. And then, so in terms of Geno, I do expect him to probably come closer to the mean here with his passing attempts. He just had way too high last season, and I expect that to come down.
Yeah, it's hard to adjust our expectations for Geno when we have so much history of him not being that. Whereas a lot of these quarterbacks who kind of came into starting, you don't have as much history that they have to break to continue that pattern. That being said, this is a wildly different situation for Geno. And they've got Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. So maybe we do see a little bit out of him this year, but I have not been drafting much Geno. Dane, are you drafting Geno if you're in on that receiving game? You mentioned that they're going to be a high pass volume
yeah,
offense.
I mean, largely I agree with John. I think we saw the best of Geno and that Seahawks offense last year. But I am comfortable with him as my QB2 or in a super flex, kind of in that. I think he's a valid QB2 for a super flex team. But I'm not like running to grab Geno. He's among those guys that I'm going to wait for that second quarterback. And if he's there at the right time, I'll ultimately take him. I'll take him before the Jordan Loves of the world. But he's not someone I'm targeting, no.
Makes sense. All right. Well, Dane, you've got a lead here 6-4, and it is back to your turn after you stole that one from John Luke. You ready for your next category?
Let's go.
We're going back to some movies here. So this is going to be a movie, and your vague description is a disgruntled housekeeper uses magic to catfish a prince into falling for her.
Is this Mrs. Doubtfire?
Well, a phenomenal guess. This is not Mrs. Doubtfire.
Damn.
John Luke, you got a guess here?
I'm just
I
thinking
feel like
about
you
Mrs.
should get points
Doubtfire
just
now.
for saying Mrs. Doubtfire. I know what I'm doing tonight. Watching Mrs. Doubtfire.
Like before catfishing was even a thing, right? You kind of did that, but hey.
Use magic to catfish a prince into falling for her. Is that the one with the Princess and the Frog?
Princess and the Frog is incorrect, but John Luke, you are getting to the right area here. Even more classic Disney movie. This is Cinderella. Cinderella uses magic to catfish a prince into falling for her. That's going to be no points on that one. But that means we're back to John Luke for your next one. You ready?
I'm ready.
And this is another movie. We'll do one more round after this one. This is another movie. It's going to be the last movie, vague description. Small town doctor brings 3 people closer together.
Small town doctor brings Three Stooges.
This is not the Three Stooges. Dane, do you have a guess here?
Not a good one. What was that one?
It is fuck. I'm just
No, I'm not. I'm off. I think it was like in Alabama. No, I don't.
Pass.
I don't. Pass.
This is the classic family movie about bringing people closer together, The Human Centipede. The Human Centipede, where a doctor sews the mouth to the anus of 3 different people and then feeds the front one. If you've never seen it. I have no
idea if you're even joking right now. I have no idea what that is.
Never heard of Human Centipede, Dane?
No, I have not.
That's kind of shocking.
That's more shocking than The Human Centipede.
Yeah, it's way more shocking than The Human Centipede. That was like a cultural phenomenon.
Nope, not me. It didn't get to the Bronx, I guess.
Said it didn't get to the Bronx, I guess.
I don't know.
He said Human Centipede didn't get to the Bronx.
No, that stopped before it got here.
Motherfucker got squished before he got there.
Well, consider yourself lucky. Bronx shut that shit down as soon as it showed up.
So. Yeah, you saved yourself from an hour and a half of wasting your time.
Okay.
All right. Well, guys, we've got 2 more here. Dane, it is back to your turn. You have a lead of 6-4, and your category is NFL player.
All right.
We have a barrel maker slowly moves west to east over the course of 8 years.
Is this Marcus Mariota?
This is not Marcus Mariota, but a great guess. John Luke.
Oh, wow.
A barrel maker slowly moves west to east over the course of 8 years.
West to east. Oh, let's go with Derek Carr.
This is not Derek Carr. The clue was there in Barrel Maker, otherwise known as a Cooper. Started in Oakland, went to Dallas, now in Cleveland. This is Amari Cooper, the Barrel Maker, slowly moving west to east over the course of 8 years. John Luke, Amari Cooper was a wide receiver 1 last year. Out of nowhere. Felt like nobody was counting him to be a top 12 wide receiver. They were completely discounting this Browns offense with Jacoby Brissett for 11 weeks. Now they've got Deshaun Watson all offseason. They added some more pieces, but it doesn't look like anyone who's going to compete with Amari Cooper for the 1 spot there. How are you viewing Amari Cooper? Is it as a wide receiver 1, what he did last year?
No, I view him more in the wide receiver 2 category. I think he will be the wide receiver 1 on his team, and I do expect that Browns offense to take a step up. I just don't think Amari Cooper will consistently score the points to end up as a wide receiver 1. I think he'll more likely end up as a high-end wide receiver 2. But that's nuanced, splitting hairs. I am higher on Amari Cooper than I have been in the past. So I think this year, if you have been in on Amari Cooper, there's no reason to stop now.
Dane, are you equally optimistic for Cooper?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I had Cooper on a couple of teams last year, so I benefited from kind of what most expected to be an overperformance. But I do think he's a wide receiver 2, not a wide receiver 1. I do think the Browns offense will be better with 17 from Deshaun Watson. But for me, at its core, the Browns are a run team, and the Browns are going to go as Nick Chubb goes, right? And so it's hard for me to look at some of these, like John said, even wide receiver 1 for their teams that I know are, running offenses. I'd even rather take the number 2 on the Chargers, on the Eagles, on the Chiefs, because I always say I'd like to get a sliver of a watermelon rather than half of a grape. And I think that the Browns are still a run-heavy team, and as Nick Chubb goes, so will the Browns offense.
And they're not even seedless grapes. Their grapes have seeds in them. I'm positive of it.
They probably do.
Also, shout out Craig in the chat getting that one right. Came in with Amari Cooper. Nice job, Craig. And then before we get into our last prompt of the day, Jake had a question for us. Jake wanted to know, is Justin Jefferson the obvious first pick in a 12-man PPR? Because I'm kind of thinking about getting Kupp. Dane, how do you feel about the Kupp versus Jefferson argument in a PPR league?
I would be decidedly on Jefferson. And to be quite honest, I personally have Jamar Chase over Kupp as well in the wide receiver group. I would have Kupp as like 3 or 4. And so for me, it is JJ. And the other thing I would say is I do also believe in terms of roster construction, the build this year of leading with that wide receiver group. I think as we go to a more pass-heavy league, those elite week-winning wide receivers, I am trying to ensure having 1 or 2 of those on my roster, even above the kind of like top-level running back. So for me, it's Jefferson to be sure.
Jay, I saw you pointing, nodding, flashing your nipples, everything you could do to show that I think you agreed with Dane.
Yeah, I do. I don't think Kupp deserves to be in this conversation. If anything, I'd be considering one of the top end running backs like a CMC if you're going to consider anyone other than Jefferson. But I think Jefferson's the right move.
I'm with you guys. Now, I will say there are people that have Kupp as high as wide receiver 2. I know Joey has him after Justin Jefferson, ahead of Jamar Chase. That's not what I'm doing here. I've got Chase ahead of Kupp and then Jefferson there up top. You just got that security for Justin Jefferson. Same quarterback, same team, similar offense, same role. Nobody's injured. It's hard to feel bad about it. All right. Well, JL, we've got one more prompt here. The score is 6-4. You can make it 6-5, close it up, but not quite win it. This is for pride. Here's your final one. The category is NFL player. Your clue is not mustard, but close.
Patrick Mahomes.
This is not Patrick Mahomes, John Luke. Dane, who is this? Not mustard, but close.
I don't know.
Dale's face says he knows it now.
Does he? I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's like a ketchup in the league or a relish in the league.
Or a mayo.
I will pass, though. I do not know.
This is not Dijon Robinson, but Bijan Robinson. Not mustard, but close. No points on that one. But with that, Dane, you are going to be the winner of today's game of Quotey McQuoteface and Vague Descriptions. Congratulations, my friend.
I appreciate it. And by the way, John, the margin was more than the 1 point. So while I'm with you, that maybe I shouldn't have gotten that contextual point, in the end of it, it didn't actually matter for the victory.
Truly, when you think about it, Dane, none of it really matters.
This is also very true. But I'm just saying, I don't know. I won't be here tomorrow, so I don't know what level of revenge you're going to try to get. So, I'm just.
Oh, my revenge won't be on you, Dane. You are safe, my friend.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Uh-oh. Well, if you guys don't see me tomorrow, it was great hanging out with you for the past couple years on stream. But truly, Dane, it was an absolute pleasure getting to stream with you, my friend. Congrats on that first W here, and really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. I always love joining you guys.
Everybody watching, if you're not already following Dane, go and follow him on Twitter right now. Dane Speeds at Spittin' Speeds. There's no G on Spittin', and Speeds ends with a Z. You can also find the link right below us in the description of this YouTube video, wherever you're watching. That is going to be it for us today. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to come on and hang out with us. We will be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern time for some more fantasy football game show fun. Another reminder that you can get our draft guide at www.frontyardfantasy.com. Pre-orders are up now, 2501. It is full of all that front yard fantasy nonsense that you've grown to love if you're here watching us on a Monday afternoon. With that being said, stick around here on BSN for better sports betting with Dan Servadidio next. Until tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern time, we are out of here. Thank you, Dane. Thank you, everybody in the chat. And thank you, John Luke. Oh, shoot. I always forget where that button is on Mondays.
Same place every time.